This course, in this section, we focus on the understanding of the ICAZ legislative framework. This is very important for trainees in their training program to understand the different laws and regulations that apply to ICAZ and to its members and students. So there are four key pieces of legislation or regulations that cover the ICAZ legislative framework, and we're just going to discuss each and every one of them. The first one is the Chartered Accountants Act, Chapter 27.02. The Institute of Chartered Accountants was incorporated in 1918 by that act, and the act was last amended in 2004. Now, some of the things that the Act covers, which are very important, to do with the objectives of the Institute. It also deals with the council being set up, as well as what are the powers of the councils. As you probably already know, the council is the apex board of ICAZ. It is the supreme decision-making body. It also covers and gives ICAZ the sole privilege, or rather the sole use of the word CAZ. So no other person in Zimbabwe can use the designation CAZ unless that designation has been conferred to them by ICAZ. The CA Act also covers things to do with the registration of members, the discipline of members, the deregistration of members. So this is some of the aspects that are covered by that. Now, to buttress what the Act says and to provide detailed guidelines and the way things are supposed to move are the ICAZ bylaws. The ICAZ bylaws are passed by council, and they deal with the regulations in the way in which the institute is conducted, as well as how members need to conduct themselves. So some of the things that you'll see in the bylaws would include the aspects to do with the regulation around the CPD, the regulations around the need for members to pay their subscription fees, the issues to do with the different committees to ICAZ, as well as the terms of reference and how those committees would be constituted. As well, it also includes the rules around the ICAZ qualifications, which programs would ICAZ run and what designation does each program give the different persons. So when you begin to look at things to do with, for example, the articled accountant qualification, it comes through in the bylaws. Another very important piece of regulation that ICAZ adheres to is the Code of Professional Conduct. As you all know, this is something that ICAZ subscribes to and is developed by the International Federation of Accountants. So this basically governs the conduct of professional accountants, and in this case of chartered accountants, and set out fundamental principles in which the professional accountants needs to abide by, and deals with different aspects to support the work that the professional accountant does. So every time this is issued, ICAZ adopts it as is. In the past, ICAZ has never adjusted anything from that. Another then very important piece of regulation are the training regulation that covers the trainee accountants under ICAZ. The training regulations are obviously the focus of this particular course, and I think as we go into detail, we'll cover some of the very important aspects in this regulation. Now, what important to note as I finish off this particular section is that all the laws and regulations are binding, that are binding to the CAZ, are also binding to the trainees. Now, whilst, for example, whilst the CPC covers the professional accountant, in this case the chartered accountant, trainees might say this does not cover me yet because I'm not a CA. But in the face of any discipline issues affecting the trainee, it's going to be judged at the same level of a professional accountant. So you need to know these regulations, and you need to be able to comply with them. Now, let's move on and look at the different supporting structures within ICAZ that are put there to support the training. So one of the most important structure that supports ICAZ training is the ICAZ Secretariat. You'll find that the Secretariat composes of the ICAZ, from the CEO to all the permanent staff that are at ICAZ. So they form the engine that drives the institute on behalf of the members, on behalf of council, and behalf of the different stakeholders. The Secretariat is led by the CEO, and it's got the education manager, the technical manager, and the different managers in the different departments and different structures, just to support all the functions of ICAZ. Another very important support structure is the education committee. The education committee primarily looks at two things. It looks at the education side, which is the exam side of things, ensuring that there are regulations that covers the accreditation of service providers, be it for the CTA program or those who support the ITC and APC, and ensures that the examination process is working well in line with the requirements of the ICAZ regulations. The second thing that the education committee also looks at is the training regulations that covers the training which happens at accredited training offices. So it prescribes the competences that a trainee is supposed to go through as they qualify to be a CA. So they've got those two very important roles. So they're involved in the accreditation of training offices as well as the monitoring of those training offices. Another very important aspect of the support structure is the ICAZ exam board. The ICAZ exam board works together with the education committee. The ICAZ exam board is much more responsible for the exam process. So it ensures that the examinations are set to the right standard and students are adjudicated to the right standard. So they keep all the processes to do with the examinations within the exam board. The education committee and the exam board, they are all supported by the Secretariat in the conduct of their duties, largely because they're made up of members who serve from outside ICAZ. So these are still CAs, but they probably work from someone else. So in a typical education committee will have partners from the different firms as well as representatives from other service providers. All right, thank you very much.